Sesame is an important agribusiness sector in Ethiopia. It is one of the 6 priority crops in the Agricultural Growth Program. It is the country's second export earner, and Ethiopia is the 4th biggest producer and 2nd biggest exporter of sesame in the world. National sesame production has more than doubled in the past 5 years. It accounts for 90% of the value of exported oilseeds, estimated at $379 million. Owing to these facts, these days, some people refer to sesame as Ethiopia's white gold. Although sesame already has a significant turnover, the sector has substantial potential for further growth and development in terms of production and yield improvement, reduction of post-harvest loss, domestic value addition, and in terms of market access and turnover. Based on value churn and stakeholder analysis, and upon expressions of interest by stakeholders themselves, the Netherlands government, through its embassy in Addis Ababa, funds a 3-year support program, the Sesame Business Network, in short SBN Support Program, which allows for accompanying the sesame sector stakeholders to achieve their objectives. SBN is largely an informal innovation network driven by entrepreneurs and stakeholders at different levels who work together to realize their individual and common economic goals, so as to arrive at more competitive, sustainable, and inclusive sesame value chains. After doing some initial work from January to May 2013, SBN Support Program was officially launched on the 15th and 16th of May 2013 in Gondar, which is one of the main sesame business hubs of the country. The support program will work in North Gondar and West Tigray zones, where the largest part of the Ethiopia sesame production and export originates from. Dr. Garamo Tarafa, National Coordinator of the SBN Support Program, began the day with his welcoming speech. In his welcoming remark, Dr. Garamo stated that,
"Dear participants, this workshop is a landmark in the history of sesame value chain in Ethiopia, as it is being held at a time when the country is targeting to double productivity and focus on high-value markets. Moreover, this launching workshop is an important platform in realizing the envisaged networking among the sesame value chain actors. To this end, after months of extensive preparation, we are on the verge of announcing the official opening of the Sesame Business Network Support Program for Northwest Ethiopia."
This is followed by the opening and keynote speech by Dr. Iyasu Abreha, Director General of Tigray Agricultural Research Institute, and Dr. Fantahun Mengistu, Director General of Amhara Regional Agricultural Research Institute, respectively.
Ethiopia Sesame has the potential to reach higher value markets such as Japan and Europe. It is of us and you, key actors, in particular, to make us of the given opportunity and to promote sesame production and marketing to the standard that the high value markets requires. I declare the workshop is officially open. Thank you very much.
It is therefore a very high time to think about the value addition to enter into high value market opportunities. This can be achieved only through the concerted and orchestrated effort of all value chain actors on the front line and government and donor organizations from behind, primarily focusing on technical backstopping, finance availing, and market linking.
In their speech, both speakers emphasized the importance of value addition in the sesame production and marketing. They also appreciate the efforts being done to improve competitiveness of Ethiopian sesame business and gear towards high-value markets. Following the speech and the introduction of participants, Dr. Garamo introduced the SBN Support Program staff members. Then Mr. Gareth Burman, one of the coordinators from Center for Development Innovation, CDI, Wageningen University, introduced the workshop program to the participants. The speeches of Dr. Yasu and Dr. Fantahun were followed by an explanation of Ted Schrader, the principal coordinator of SPN from CDI, on the initial steps of the SPN support program so far, such as signing memorandum of understandings with different partners and baseline studies. Mr. Schrader emphasized the importance of value chains and stakeholder collaboration, and of clusters as building blocks for the network. He added that the 3-year program will provide support for the sesame value chains in North Gondar and West Tigray areas with the financial support from the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Netherlands Embassy in Addis Ababa, and with technical support from CDI, the Netherlands, and agricultural research centers in Amhara and Tigray regions. The objectives of this support program follow the economic objectives of the members of the SPN. Research, extension, training, and facilitation services are supportive to SPN member initiatives. Capacity and innovation development, in combination with knowledge sharing and learning, supports the effective development and uptake of innovation to address stakeholder-identified challenges. Subsequently, Alamayo Kasa and Muuz Berhe from Gondar and Humera Agricultural Research Centers, respectively, and Oscar Gertz, on behalf of Meset Consulting plc, presented the result of the baseline studies. They presented some general facts and figures about sesame production and yield, the amount of land covered in sesame, practices in the production of sesame, and other findings that they gathered from Gwara, Metemma, Merab, and Tacharmachuho Woradas from Amhara region, and Kafta Humera or Setit Humera, Tegede, and Wilkait Woradas from Tigray region. Following their presentations, questions were raised and discussions were made about some of the findings. After lunch, Mr. Gareth Burman gave a brief explanation about marketplace. 10 of Sesame business cluster sectors presented their cases by annotated posters, spurring a great deal of discussion and exchange. In their poster presentations, cluster representatives emphasized points such as sesame production and productivity, stakeholders' relationship, marketing situation, problems pertaining to production and marketing, extension, and other supports. The remainder of the afternoon was spent by group discussions regarding key challenges reported in previous workshops in Metemma and Humera sesame production areas. The 10 main challenge areas identified were production inputs, finance, labor, agricultural practices, pests and diseases, storage, markets and marketing, quality and value addition, infrastructure and governance, and capacity strengthening and support service. Participants of the workshop were assigned into 10 different groups, and they discussed and identified specific problems in each challenge area. SPN support program staff members were facilitating group discussions. Day 2 of the workshop began with a recap of the first day. After the recap, SPN support program staff members presented the specific problems that they identified under each challenge areas in the group discussions they had in the first day of the workshop. Then participants of the workshop continued second round marketplace. Sesame Business Cluster's representatives from 7 other clusters presented their cases. Their presentations were followed by discussions. Afterwards, Gareth Borman had given a brief explanation on how to go about from challenge to activities. Participants were assigned into 5 different groups. This time, participants were grouped based on the place where they came from. 2 topics or challenge areas were given to each group, and instructions were also given to the participants on how they can do action planning. Each group worked hard using the challenge areas given. They identified action areas or points and also stated specific activities which they think would solve the challenges observed. Then Mr. Schrader briefly presented about entrepreneurship. He defined the concept and demonstrated pictorially how thinking differently or having a different look can help solve challenges easily. After lunch, representatives presented what they had discussed in groups in the morning session. Following action planning, group discussions were held on capacity needs of clusters. Participants were grouped into 6 and discussed in detail about the main capacity needs of each Sesame business clusters. The main capacity needs identified were on skill and knowledge development. Strategic people from, amongst others, agricultural research centers, government officials from waradas and zones, non-governmental organizations, Ethiopian Commodity Exchange came together in one group and discussed strategies beyond SPN. Late in the afternoon, Mr. Schrader explained about SPN support program fund utilization and management. As a concluding remark, Dr. Garamo briefed how the project had been designed and who the different bodies taking part in the designing process were. He extended his thanks to individuals and institutions who contributed to the realization of the SPN support program. He finally invited Mr. Yeshitla Marani, Director of Crops Research Directorate of Amhara Agricultural Research Institute, for a closing speech. In his closing speech, Mr. Yeshitla emphasized the importance of creating harmony and collaboration to make real change from the production side and bring the country to food self-sufficiency by earning more foreign currency.